You may notice I'm in the very same shirt. The background is the same, including the various dirty dishes that were there last time. I really should clean this place up sometime. But this is, I'm just recording a bunch of these in one day. So whenever you're watching this, this is film review number 2 of my videos that I'm making to plug into this vlog anytime I don't have any news or the time to share the news with you. And I have another one today. Number 1 was The Adventures of Baron Munchausen, my all-time favorite. This one I think just might be my second favorite of all time. And on that cliffhanger, ever since Walt Disney died, the Walt Disney Film Company has had a very hard time deciding whether it wants to be a good film company or not. They had a few good successes even after Disney departed. I enjoy Robin Hood, 101 Dalmatians, the original animated. I know I've watched some YouTube videos where those have been criticized for starting to indicate signs of the company not caring to do things with Disney's level of excellence quite as much. But I enjoyed them. Then they kind of went into nowhere, and then they came back with what is known as the Disney Renaissance, which was The Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, and The Lion King, although I think The Lion King is one of the most boring animated films I've ever seen. For some reason, the rest of the world seems to love it. Anyway, one of the things they eventually tried was taking the attractions from their amusement park and turning them into films. And that, again, has been a hit and miss game. The Country Bears with Jonathan Taylor Thomas, I believe, was an absolute disaster, is my understanding. I have never seen it. The few clips I've seen do not interest me at all. The Haunted Mansion, I wanted to like more. It looked really good. It started really good. That the opening title music is, I think, a beautiful piece. The way they tell all the backstory that we need in no words whatsoever, but just music, shots, and it's done by the time the credits are over, so we don't have to spend a lot of time in the film doing it. Then it just got stupid. Anyway, and they've remade it. They already did a reboot even, and that was stupid, which I didn't see, but it bombed. I'd love for somebody to hand me the reins to the Haunted Mansion because I love the ride, and I know how to spot stupid. I know how to say, we're not doing that script. That's stupid. Okay. But the one that has definitely proved to be an incredible success, spawning 4 sequels after it, is Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl. And if this isn't my second most favorite film of all time, it is one of my top 5. Why? Well, as I mentioned in my review on The Adventures of Baron Munchausen, I love a good fantasy adventure. Now, this has a much more real-world basis. It starts in, the Caribbean. In fact, it all technically takes place in the Caribbean. But some fantasy elements have been thrown in. I am going to talk about the plot, so if you haven't seen it, just know that I give it 2 big thumbs up, or 5 stars, or whatever. I'd give it a 10 out of 10. So you can pause now and go watch it, but otherwise. The fantasy element, of course, is that some of these pirates are under a curse, where they simply cannot die, no matter how many times they've been shot through, run through, no matter, situations of being starved to death, whatever. They are now basically living dead. They can't, but they can't enjoy life. They can't taste food. They can't really enjoy the sensory elements. And so they are on a quest to find the people they need to lift the curse. But they represent the villains, because to lift the curse, they're going to have to kill someone. It happens to be our young hero, played by Orlando Bloom. Orlando Bloom is Will Turner. He's in love with Elizabeth Swann. This all takes place down in the Caribbean. He's a young iron worker. He's a blacksmith. and his specialty is swords. So he makes swords for the local officers of the military down at the Caribbean base, the British base down in the Caribbean. Anyway, he has a thing for Elizabeth Swann. She's a little out of his class, but he loves her. And one night, this villainous pirate ship pulls into Port Royal, where they are, and blows the place apart and kidnaps Elizabeth for interesting reasons that I will actually keep secret as a non-spoiler. And during her time on their ship, that's when she discovers they aren't actually fully alive. They are at night under moonlight. When she's out on the ship deck, she sees that they are reduced to skeletons. Well, now Will Turner wants to get her back, and his only hope is the notorious pirate locked up in the Port Royal jail, Jack Sparrow, played by Johnny Depp. I think if you're old enough to watch this, by now you know that Johnny Depp is in the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise, and he has basically stolen the show. By the rules of screenwriting, he is not the star. He is not the central character. The central character is Will Turner. And the plot of the film is Will Turner's goal to get Elizabeth Swann back. But Johnny Depp came to the set. He showed up as they were building sets and stuff. He came to a meeting with the director in his proposed costume. He went home. He put a costume together. He came back with the swagger and the drunken slur. And if I recall, Rob... is it Rob? I've lost his name, the director's name. It's right. It should be right here. Except the print is so small, and I'm getting older. It's not Rob Marshall. Gronkowski's a football player. Oh my gosh. Anyway, I'll put it on screen. The director balked at first. He wasn't quite convinced, but eventually ran with it. And Johnny Depp ended up becoming the one that everyone remembers from the film. Because Will Turner, played by Orlando Bloom, is supposed to be the down-to-earth, good, honest, right character. And anytime you have a colorful villain, you're going to remember the villain. Jack Nicholson in Batman. When Batman came out in 1989, that Halloween, all the kids wanted to be the Joker. Nobody wanted to be the Batman, because the Joker was more interesting. Even as he is wrong, and it is right for Batman to defeat him, he is the more interesting on-screen character. Same thing here. Will Turner is our hero, but Johnny Depp stole the show out from under him. Why I love this film? Well, again, it's got a fantasy element to it, but first of all, and this is what I really like, the older I get, the more this is what I want in all my films, and that is, I want the crew, the cast and crew, I want everybody involved to care. I do not have time anymore for dumb films where they've just slapped it together and they haven't taken the time to refine the jokes, refine the action, refine the dialogue, refine. I want smart movies. And they are few and far between. They really are. Men in Black, I would call a smart movie. Galaxy Quest is a smart movie. The Adventures of Baron Munchausen is a smart movie. Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl, is a smart movie. It is carefully crafted. The plot is carefully executed, even as it is intricate. And I love the fact that at first the plot goes this way, and then the plot goes that way, and then the plot goes that way, due in part to the fact that Jack Sparrow is hiding multiple layers of motives. He says one thing to one person, and they set off. And then you find out, well, it's because he knows something and really wants something else. And when that goes wrong, he has to improvise now in order to get what he really wants, which is way out there somewhere. To get what he really wants, and he's already gone this way, he has to dance around the trouble he's in and get this person to believe that he really wants to go that way so that he can get over here. It is brilliant. The degree to which all of that happens and his shenanigans cause Will Turner to have to take several turns himself is really quite well done. It looks well done. It does not look cheap. It doesn't look like a kid's film. It looks like they cared. The island setting is beautiful. The ships on the ocean are beautiful, and I know they were hulls built around motorboats, but they're out there. They're out there on the ocean. They aren't on a green screen somewhere surrounded by a digital ocean, an ocean of fake water. They're out on an ocean, and they're not very far from shore. They're not very far from taking a break, and the comforts of modern living. But it looks right when you sit in the theater and watch it. Absolutely fantastic. The costumes done with care. And really, they never stoop to that silliness. They never stoop to that stupidity. It's good stuff all around. Then you do have the performances. Of course, as I said, Johnny Depp steals the show, and it worked in this one. I think by the fifth one, I was happy to say, we can stop now. The idea that to this day they're still thinking about a sixth one and still trying to get Johnny Depp back into it, even as I guess for a while he was going to be fired because it looked like he was going to be guilty in the Amber Heard trial, and then there's talks about getting him back into them. And I think it's time to let the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise die, because none of them ever lived up to this first one. The second and the third one in particular got a very heavy tone to it, almost depressing. The buoyancy, the joy of going to the theater and having a good time was lost. The first one was the only one that really kept its bounce alive. Of course, then there's I guess before I move on, so skip that. Of course, Will Turner, played by Orlando Bloom, excellent job. And Elizabeth Swann with Keira Knightley. They work well together. Again, all they have to be is the down-to-earth people, and they did it. They did down-to-earth very well. The other scene stealer is Jeffrey Rush. So really, you have the two pirates are the ones who come along and just take it away from everybody else. Jeffrey Rush has been described as chewing the scenery, and yet in this case it works. It works for him to be this rather megalomaniacal pirate. He had the audacity to stage a mutiny against his captain, Jack Sparrow. And he's very colorful and he's very into it, and it's a lot of fun. Then there's the music by Klaus Badelt, parentheses Hans Zimmer. There's a debate over exactly which composer contributed how much, and quite possibly that was the reason why Klaus Badelt did not come back for the sequels, is because he got tired of Hans Zimmer interfering. Don't know, haven't heard the full story, those are just rumors. So getting back to what I was of coursing earlier, and of course the conceit of the film is that they took actual scenes, tableaus from the animatronic ride down in Disneyland, and dropped them into the film. I am happy to say they dropped them in carefully. They dropped them in so that they actually were integrated into the film. So that if you've never been on the ride, you don't sit there scratching your head going, what did that scene have to do with anything? I don't like that in movies. I don't like being on the outside of an inside joke and having the scene not make sense. Now, if you can have the scene make sense for everybody, but underneath it there's a deeper layer that will have those who know about it going, oh, that's clever. I'm fine with that. And that's what they did. They have a movie that anybody can follow, and then they took scenes from the ride and they tucked them in there just for a little nostalgia for anybody who's been on the ride. And I love the ride, the old ride. They've made changes. They've taken out the auction of the females because it's not politically correct, even though it's pirates and we're not, I don't know. 2020 and 2021 were overflowing with nonsense and poor logic and arguments that should never have been heeded by major companies like the Walt Disney Company. But anyway, I highly recommend The Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl. It is PG-13, for good reason. I showed it to my, I think, 12-year-old, my youngest. She's pretty adventurous. She just saw Jaws. I showed it to my 12-year-old. I showed it to my youngest, who I think was 12 at the time, maybe 11, and she went right along with it. There's nothing so violent or horrible in it. If your kid has a sense of adventure and enjoys some swashbuckling and can handle, characters getting shot in a non-violent, it's not Quentin Tarantino. with blood going. It's very old-fashioned in the way that a John Wayne Western could have someone get shot and they just go off their horse. It's just so much fun. It is so much fun. It's almost 2 hours and 20 minutes, but when I first saw it in the theater and it was over, I was disappointed because it felt short. Good stuff. Highly recommended. See you next time.